Welcome, everyone. This is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden, and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about the idea of education, of believing in yourself, and then no matter the struggle, making sure you come out on top. It is easy in life to say, you know what? My history has been so bad. I had so many bad moments in my life. I have walked all of this negativity. I have gone through all of these challenges. My life has been so difficult. Boo, poo, pity party, whatever you want to consider it. That right there is going to create a mindset that's going to stop you from taking action. However, there is a different mindset that you can give yourself, that no matter what you go through, no matter what challenges come your way, especially if you're a person that might be perfectly fine right now. Maybe you can walk, and now all of a sudden you can't walk, maybe because of a car accident. Maybe you can't see anymore, but you used to be able to see. Can we see the potential within us? Many people are blind today, and it's not because they're legally blind. It's because they have failed to understand who they are, what they can become. Their potential is untapped. We need to look at how we can start to see what we can become, rather than our circumstance and what we have been moved to. Many people, they are in this mindset again, that what they have been given is going to be what they only can accomplish or what they only can have. But the way I like to say it is, we have been given scraps. We have been thrown scraps. The world gives us scraps. However, we can reach up, we can reach out, and we can take the lavish buffet that's in front of us. It's all for our taking, but yet we can live two ways. We can accept what is given, or we can go out and we can get what we want. And this is not so much of entitlement. It's about certainty. It is about the human potential. It is about what you can accomplish. And today I'm going to be bringing on a guest, Sara Freeman Smith. She's going to be talking about her story, her book, and how she helps people educate themselves and begin to believe in themselves once more. So let's get into the interview with Sara and myself. Welcome, Sara Freeman Smith, to Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How about you?
Doing well. Thanks so much for coming on. Today, I have you on as an author, speaker, and disability advocate. We're going to be talking about your work. We're going to be talking about how you help the world. And your story is going to be one for the books, especially here coming into Coaching in Session and talking to the audience about your history, who you are, and then why you do the things you do. And I think that's so important. In your own words, can you tell the world who you are, what you do, and how you help?
Okay, great. Well, first off, I am an author of a third edition of a self-improvement book entitled Turning Stones into Gems, Learning How to Find Purpose or Direction in Your Life and Career. I also am a speaker, and I am a disability advocate because I believe that there are so many myths about individuals with disabilities and their ability to function in workplace. So that is a part of my mission, is to just dispel those myths. But more importantly, just help people figure out what they want to be when they grow up a second, third, or fourth time.
And I think it's important for the audience to know, because they don't necessarily know you quite yet. But what is your history? Because I know you have an interesting history, and it's one of triumph in the end.
Yes, it definitely is. Well, I am an HR recruiting professional leader with more than 30 plus years of recruiting. I tell people I've been recruiting since kindergarten days. But looking at me and talking with me, one would probably presume a lot of myths about my upbringing, but I was born and raised in an underprivileged area of Houston, Texas. I was adopted by elderly godparents, which was very, very unusual, who were unemployed at the time. But I was very fortunate because they drilled the power of education and believing in myself. And with that intrinsic value instilled in me, I was fortunate enough to get a full scholarship to attend the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. And I started my recruiting career only after about a couple of years getting into the workforce. But as I was climbing the corporate ladder of success, Michael, something very traumatic happened. I started to lose my vision. And when I began to lose my vision, I was suddenly going, how am I going to help recruit people when I am interacting daily? And that's where it was a very trying and difficult time. Yes, I had some long days sitting on my pity party, but ultimately I was a career woman. I was a wife, a mother, and I was already active in the community. And I suddenly had to realize, okay, if my vision is diminishing, does that make me less of a person? So it allowed me to reinvent myself and understand that I may not be able to do things the same way that I did before with a little bit of extra help, some accessibility tools, but I still was capable to function and survive in the workplace. And that brought me to another epiphany is because of the fact that I had vision loss and because of the fact that I had to ask for accommodations and some workarounds. There were far more individuals who weren't getting that opportunity to enter into the workplace. That also became a part of my underlying mission to see how can I better help those individuals understand there is a place for you in the workforce and trying to dispel those myths with my hiring manager. So that's where my advocacy for the individuals in the disability community. And I like to say, it's not a disability. I'm not disabled. I'm differently able in order to do what I do. And so one would think being blind, and I was diagnosed legally blind about 3 or 4 years after beginning to lose my vision. That means that I literally can no longer drive. If I were to see a billboard, I need to be on top of that billboard to read it. And so in order to function, I need to use a walking cane. I need to use accessibility tools on my computer system, all these things, but it's all possible and with no cost or very minimal cost to an employer. So that's been also my mission, is to just turn around and dispel that myth, and also reinventing oneself after about a 35-year career history. Most people think, aren't you ready to turn in the cleats? No, I have so much more to offer. And so many people need to know that they can reinvent themselves. And thus, I'm starting this whole new career as a speaker and an author. Yes, that's what I love, giving people those tools to know how to go and achieve and unlock their success.
And I do want to ask, did you start writing your book before or after you started to lose your sight?
Actually, believe it or not, Michael, I wrote my first edition 25 years ago. And what happened is, because I was in the recruiting arena and I believed, and coming from an underserved community, there were so many people that weren't given that opportunity to enter into corporate America, or had no clue how to go about doing it. I made it my mission to go and recruit and speak and try to attract individuals that normally were not being asked to come to work for a big company, a big bank, a big oil and gas company. In doing so, I would offer to just talk about the jobs that I have, but more importantly, to tell the individuals that I was speaking to, these were halfway houses, these were shelters, these were communities where you're teaching young people to take their first, jobs. Being able to tell them about my background, don't look at me and think, oh, she came from the other side of the railroad tracks. No, I grew up right here where you are, but you do not have to let your circumstances or your surroundings determine your destiny. It's up to you. And so people would come up and say, oh my gosh, no one ever told me that I had value, that I had purpose, that I had meaning. And you really, really encouraged me. And I really think you ought to write a book. Well, you know how we do that self-talk. I'm saying to myself, who would want to read a book about Sara Freeman Smith? And what the heck? I can't see myself on New York Times bestseller list. I mean, it was the whole thing about the book. And I kept dismissing this. But ultimately, too many people from all walks of life would come up and say, oh, you're so encouraging. I can speak with you, and you always give me a positive thing to leave with. And I finally said, okay, I guess this is it. This is what I have to do. And I sat down and just allowed God to use me. And I just, the book together, Turning Stones into Gems. And I used a geode. And I'm not sure if you know what a geode is, but it's a rough stone. It's an ugly, just, unobtrusive kind of, looks like a rock in the backyard. But when you crack it open, it has beautiful quartz crystals. The concept of turning stones into gems is we let society and even ourselves put these huge burdens, these weights, luggage, baggage, toxic relationships, situations, whatever they may be. And we carry and lug that around. We need to get rid of that excess to get to the true value, the true inward being of ourselves. And obviously, each and every one of us has a distinct purpose and value. We just have to hone in on it. As for me, in case you haven't discovered, I love talking to people. And I've always had the gift of communication. But I took that for granted. I assumed everybody could talk. Everybody would ask questions. Everybody would be encouraging. But yet, I finally had some friends and some very, very good close mentors that sat me down and said, no, this is your gift. You have the ability to encourage, you listen, you're an active listener, and people know that you care. And I always tell people, it's not how much you know, but how much you care that makes an impact when you meet people. And letting them know, I can talk with the CEO all the way down to the janitor in the basement. We can have a good conversation. And he would never, ever know that there was a difference. Those are the kinds of things that I enjoyed. And I just sat down, put it in a book. And next thing I know, I was getting calls from people to actually want me to come and speak. And that provided me that venue. So there was a whole new reinventing myself. And then I figured, okay, after 3 or 4 years, I'm done. I got back into the corporate world and led me 20 years later. And I had to go and take a big dose of my own medicine again to reinvent myself when the vision loss occurred. So this is why this is my third edition after the pandemic and the great resignation. Again, people came and said, you need to write that book again. You need to put it out because I've got grandkids now that need to learn that. Thus, that's where I am today.
The aspect of writing a book is not an easy task. Many people, they give themselves this idea of, I want to write a book, let alone to someone who has had a life like yours, where it had its ups and its downs. And especially when you're getting into the third edition and people are requesting, hey, we need this book, right? We need our children to see what's truly going on, because right now they are just kind of going wild. Just today, I know the episode doesn't air for a little bit from when we record, but there's a high school and all the kids walked out of the high school. But for the reason was kind of silly. The reason why all the kids in high school walked out was because the school banned cell phones.
I know that story.
And it's so silly, where you should be going to school for education, learning how to be a critical thinker, how to make education forefront in your mind. But yet, this technology, this piece of device has become what so many people have adapted to. And for some people, they might need that resource, but for many people, it's just a luxury. And we grew up in different times. I didn't grow up with a cell phone in my pocket.
Neither do I.
We had books. You were lucky if you had a calculator. And teachers will always say, when you grow up, you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket. And look at where we are today.
I know.
I want to talk to you about the difference in education today, because as you said, people are coming to you saying, my kids need this book. What's the difference in education, and what are some ways and strategies we can get back to better education for our youth?
Oh, great question. Great question. Gosh, we could probably be here all day, right? But I truly think, and I believe, and I know because I reflect back when I was in school, I believe the teachers came from a different space. Let me put it this way. When I was growing up, the parents were actively involved in their children's life. And it was always, if the teacher had to make that phone call and say that Sarah was doing something, it wasn't a question of, no, my child didn't do that. You have lost your ever-loving mind in going into an attack mode. It would be, okay, what does she do? What does she need to do? Okay, I'll take care of it. And believe it or not, by the time I got home, yes, it was addressed. I think because of the challenges, the many, many challenges that teachers today are faced with, they're not just teaching, they're parents, they're psychologists, they're therapists, they're social workers, they're all of the above. And I think that some are much better equipped to do that than others. But at the end of the day, that we have what we have, but our children also must understand that this is a profession that they are there to provide that information that will be of value down the road. Yes, you and I didn't understand, why the heck do I have to do this problem the long way when I could just pull out this little cool little Texas Instruments tool? It is because what if one day you don't have that calculator? You really need to understand the basics and the premise to doing it. But being able to sit down and explain why that is important, but also have the support of a good surrounding family system. And to be perfectly honest, I think in these days and times, everybody has technology as an extra appendage to their body, that they don't have the time to just spend quality time with listening to my child, understanding my child needs a little bit more extra direction. So when I have that parent teacher conversation, I need to let them know, and then I can be that backup support. But to be honest, I don't think those channels of communication is there. So I think real, true, valuable communication, both between the parent and the child and their level of expectation when they send them to school, as well as the expectation that the teacher and what they are going to do and what their role is. I think that that's a lot of the systemic problems. And simply, again, like you and I didn't have a cell phone, and I didn't give my son a cell phone back when he wanted it. Yeah, everybody has one, but what do you need it? Well, what if in an emergency? That's what you go to the office and tell them they'll find me, because I knew that it would take up his total concentration. It's simple. I'm not sending you to look and see what's going on in your friend's social page. So and it's a detraction. It's a deterrence. I totally get it. If they say that you don't know how to control it, then it's a privilege. It's not a right. It's a privilege.
I love the aspect of technology. Technology has changed the way we have done many things.
Absolutely.
Technology is good and bad, the yin and the yang of the world right now.
Double-edged sword.
A person can come in, they can find like-minded individuals that can connect people from so far away. You and I are an example of what technology has been able to accomplish. This is a feat that we can't put back in the box. However, technology has one detriment to it. It can create solidarity, meaning we operate by ourselves now. And many of our youth and many individuals, it doesn't even have to be just youth, they go to their phones, they go to their devices for the aspect of safety. I feel safe when I'm on my phone. I feel safe when I'm alone. That's why they can be in a room all day by themselves on their phone or their computer. They can feel connected, but they truly are disconnected. And what this does is it takes away the belief in themselves, because now they're dependent on this device. If they decided to go out, be critical thinkers, use your own brain, they would believe in themselves more. But yet this is an issue that we're having. And a lot of people today are failing to believe in themselves or believe that they can do things. And we can even go a step further, that it's not even only about technology and the users of technology, but the people with disabilities, people who have been told that they are going to not be able to do something in their life. They're not going to surmount to anything more in their life. We have two paths that we can go on. We can go on the path of the knowingness that we have been taught, or the learning of our potential. And many people, they just go with what they have been told. A teacher might have said you were dumb, or you are insignificant, or you won't be anything in life. But then you might have had people that said you can do it. You can be that positive factor. And I know you do a lot of work in letting people know that I can be that positive factor. You can do positive things in your life. And I want to talk and have a discussion about being that positive aspect in people's lives, helping people believe in themselves, whether they have disabilities or not. How can they achieve?
First and foremost, it's an inside-outside process, Michael. It is something that I tell people, it starts and ends with you. You really have to know and be comfortable who you are, because it is what it is. We are who we are. But be very reflective, because there's some aspects of Sara that I like, but then there are also some aspects that I say, you know what, you need to work on that. let's be brutally honest. You can't be impatient with others, especially when you're relying on them to provide help. That was a great life lesson for me. I thought I was patient, but my gosh, when you go and lose your vision and the things that you could readily do really quickly and you'd have to wait and ask, you learn to have that patience. Being able to be reflective enough to know these are the things that I know that I'm good at, and these are the things that I'm going to continue to try to excel at doing. But more importantly, I don't want to spend the time on the things that I cannot do, because that gets me nowhere. It only gets me deeper in my pity party. And the same thing goes, if I have friends and family members that can only tell me, you can't do that, how you going to do that? Ain't nobody going to call you. You know they're not going to hire you for that job. I don't need help in doing that. I can sit and wallow on my pity party all by myself. I don't need that kind of support. I need someone to say, you know what? I think that's possible. What kind of things would you need in order to accomplish that if you wanted to do it? Oh, I just need a little bit of extra time. Oh, I need to learn how to do this on the computer system. So being able to focus on the things that I know that I can do. And that's also just from an individual without a disability. You can surround yourself with negative, toxic people or a negative, toxic environment, expect to go and get different results. I don't think so. Sometimes you have to make that decision. Is this being of a benefit or value to me? Or is this people just holding me back and beating me down? And we have to be brutally honest with ourselves. But it is very difficult to make that decision. But what do they say is insanity? Continuing to do the same thing and expect the different results. Sometimes it takes that leap of faith. And then faith, that's the next key. After you sit and look, you've got to have some type of faith base. For me, it's my God. Whatever that creator, whatever that higher being, some things are out of your control. You have to trust and rely on it. But it starts from the inside. And more importantly, and I think you might agree on me, it is a mental mindset that you always have to keep focus in front of you. And if that means positive affirmation surrounding me so that I see it, that I hear it, that I live it, that I breathe it, that I'm listening to podcasts or the positive type music, but it is feeding my soul that so that I constantly am giving myself that fundamental foundation. So those are the sorts of things. And I tell myself, I'm good at this. You have to believe it. Self-talk is critical. You can either talk yourself into it or boy, can we do a great job of talking ourselves out and down. I'm a perfect example of that. I still find myself being guilty of that. What we convince ourselves that we can and cannot do and persevere to achieve it.
Many people, they just do what they can do, what they know, what's familiar with them, what's comfortable to them. And they don't necessarily extend themselves. They don't go outside of the box. They stay where they are. A lot of people, believe it or not, they don't even leave their hometown. They just stay where they are. If not their hometown, their state. So like they might not travel really. They might not go see different cultures, talk to different people. They stay stuck. Basically, sticks the mindset now, because now the mindset is, okay, well, I can't do anything. We have that scarcity mindset. It's not enough, or I just can't do it. And even though we have this aspect of potential, think of that geo that you were speaking of earlier. There's potential that a rock that you crack open, it has nothing in it, but there is a potential. It has something great. And many people are not willing to go through the struggles of finding that true potential. So they might try once, crack a rock or a geode. They see nothing. Oh, what's the point? I'm wasting my time. Many people, they feel like if they have failed once, they have failed twice, maybe even gone up to 3 times, they have that disdain in their mouth, and now they don't want to push themselves any longer. How can someone push past the failure? How can someone push past the moments that are not as pleasurable or are more challenging and more difficult?
I tell people often, especially that is so, so true. But if they really want to push and press on, think of other people. And when you read the stories about how others persevered, but looking at what they had to do, they were that close to giving up, or they were that close to people saying, There is absolutely no way being disowned by the family, but they pressed on and they achieved that success. You have to know the more no's I get, that means I'm getting closer to my yes. And especially if it's something deep down inside, you know that this is what you have been called and purposed to do. You really have to have that persevering mindset, knowing that it's not going to come boom the first time straight out the door. I think of every successful person, they had so many things they tried out that failed. But that one time, it was a success. Baseball players and football athletes, how many times did they lose? But when they continued to practice and press on, look at the success that they achieved. Nobody thinks about the number of strikeouts that a batter hit has. They only think about the successes. So you have to know that success is right around the corner. And I must leave my comfort zone. I cannot stay where I am and go and achieve the same level of success. It is going to be that I have to take that leap. I have to trust and know that if this is truly what I feel like that I have been called, or I feel that this is something that I can do, I cannot have an I quit attitude. I have to give it my very, very best until I can't do it anymore. And that's the mindset. I just say, okay, so when did you try that last week? Did you make a call this week? No. Let's do the call together. Tell me what you said. Is there something maybe we could tweak? But being able to examine and say, okay, I'm going to give this my very, very best and not stop and know that I'm just that close. It's just around the corner, and kind of visualize that. So those are the kind of things that I try to push and encourage an individual, that they have got to persevere. There will be trials. There are going to be some failures. God knows. I had a successful career, but guess what? I was laid off, not once, not twice, but 3 times. But each and every time, the very next job that I was able to accept had a greater responsibility as well as a greater income. I had, unfortunately, you cry, oh my gosh, I was laid off because of restructure or change of leadership. But guess what? I pressed on, and it didn't. The very next day, I did not have a position. I kept preparing and interviewing and applying, and boom, the position that I did get the very next time was greater than the one that I left. That's how I have to know and trust and believe in my capability, and that the universe will surround me. God will provide all of the other provisions if I do my part. Having that faith and trust to take that leap of faith and not give up.
That is important to understand and to acknowledge, because many people, they think their situation right now is the end all be all, is the best they can get. So if they do get laid off, it's a pity party, depression. They don't see the potential that can come from that opportunity of being let go. As you did, each and every time that layoff occurred, you became better, not only in your mindset, but income. And then you basically said to yourself, most likely, that the opportunity that I thought was so wonderful was only a fraction of what I truly can attain.
Exactly.
And this is where we are in life. Many people are living within that fraction of what they can accomplish. Maybe let's call it 1%, a small percentage, but yet there's so much more potential within them. And the work that you do is helping people understand and educating people that they have that potential within them, that they can believe in themselves. And education is going to be one of the best methods for them to unlock more percentage in their life so they can become top 1%er instead of a bottom 1%er. There's just so much goodness here in our conversation, because when we look at the overall scheme of life, right? You live and then you die. However, most people, they call that life, but life happens in between. Life happens,
yes.
Exactly. It happens in between, where we are able to do the things that we want, the things that we desire. And many people, they have this limited mindset, but you are a testament that limits don't have to be there. You can show people, hey, just because we are struggling today, it doesn't mean that we're going to be struggling tomorrow. There is the ebb and flow of life. There's going to have ups and downs, but we appreciate those ups and we start to learn to reflect on those moments more than the moments that, oh, I remember when this was bad in my life. We start to see the good. And this all stems from, again, turning these gems that we have in our life into something more than what they are, just a rock, right? A lot of people say it's just a rock.
It's just a rock. It's no purpose. Yeah, exactly. It's like a diamond in the rough. If you see
Exactly.
what a diamond looks like before it is gone through that entire refinement process, you would not believe. But that's not an easy process. Just imagine yourself. Put yourself in that diamond. And I never will forget, in one Bible study, a minister had some Play-Doh. And he says, you know what? If life is like, hey, you got to get shaped, shift, squeezing. I got to mold you into the cup or the saucer or the bowl. You can imagine it comes out really pretty, but look what it had to go through to get to that shape. There was some ouchies and some, oh my God, it is hot up in this oven. I'm ready to get out. But if I take you out too soon, you're brittle, you fall apart. It all is a part of the process and understanding that what lessons learned, the things that happened to me before just made me a better individual that I am to become for the next opportunity. And just like you said, the most important part is the in between. And that's about the seasons. There's short seasons, there's long seasons. And it's the lessons learned that we can take from it. And sometimes we know that this is not the right place and the right situation. And we need to take that move, but we won't do it. But as I said, I'm a firm believer in God. And God sometimes says, I gave you every opportunity. Well, I'm going to just shut it down. Now what you going to do? And you say in the back of your mind, I knew this was not the right place for me. But the money was good. But it was close to home. But however, you know, and we don't do it. So this causes us to be a little bit more reflective and say, hey, now what can I do and learn from that lesson so that this next opportunity, it will allow me to grow and excel. And those are the things that I try to just have people sit and put down on paper, because it's almost like I tell people, life is like, remember the coloring book we used to have, the connected dots? They hand a paper and it says it's a dinosaur, but I remember that's all these A's and B's. And I'm looking on this plain piece of paper and I'm going, I don't see a dinosaur. But my mother would say, take your time, connect the dots. Well, you know what? I'm a hyper type A personality. I would go from A to Z and go, I still don't see. Did you go A to B to C or 1, 2? Oh, I see a picture starting to form. All we have to do is stop, reflect, and begin to connect the dots. They all lead to a purpose. And we can begin to clearly see, I wanted to be that accountant because they made great money, but I was a mediocre accountant. That's why I had a job every year. But guess what? I know that I would be a great carpenter. I love working with my hands, but I didn't think I could make enough living doing that. I convinced myself when my family said, you can't make enough money. But guess what? If that is what you truly have the desire and you wake up every day thinking about that, I know you'll find a way to be the very best that you can be. And you will be able to earn that living, that you will be able to be successful at it. Those are the kind of things I try to draw and pull out from individuals so that they can actually realize it and go, oh, I never thought about it like that. That's why.
All the stuff we talked about today is so powerful because it's going to give people a sense that they can take up wherever they left off if they ever stop something, if they maybe are afraid to do something. And then they say, you know what? I can make a difference. I can make some change in my life. This is where we are. How can people find you?
They can find me by going to my website, which is www.u as in United, R as in Robert, gems, GEMS.com, which really is phonetically UR-GEMS, but I couldn't write that all in a website address. So it's URGEMS.com. And they can connect with me. They can reach out, follow up, pick up a book. I also offer 2 free resources. I have a prayer and a gratitude journal. Believe in the power of writing things down, because when you're connecting the dots, you got to see what you wrote down to connect those dots, as well as a link to some career assessment tools that they also can have, as well as an action planner to begin to see how much time do I spend on the things that are really valuable and meaningful for me. You'd be amazed where we wind up realigning and looking at, that could be why it's not going so much. I'm not devoting enough time to develop me, being able to take a look at that with an action planner. check out the website, yourgems.com.
All right, everyone, I'd like to thank you so much for watching that interview with Sara Freeman Smith and myself. As you can see, she is a lovely soul, and I love to speak with individuals like Sara because she is full of wisdom, full of delight, and regardless of the negativities that might have been in her mind at certain moments, whether she lost a job, she's losing her sight, she had a choice. She had a choice to say, you know what? I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to be this person that can't accomplish anything. But yet she gave herself the fight, the desire that I'm going to push regardless of my circumstance, regardless of my ailment. This is not enough to stop me. As long as I can breathe, I'm still going to push. As long as I can keep on thinking, I'm going to keep on working toward my goals of helping the world learn about their potential. Many people in the world, they struggle to believe in themselves. We talked about this idea. There's so many teachers, parents even do it sometimes, and it might be unconscious that you do it, or you might not even have known that someone is doing that to you. They're limiting you. They might have the best intentions for you, but yet there might be limits being set. One of the things that I always got upset when I was a teacher was when another teacher would label a student. And the label could have been, oh, this person's not going to be anything. This person's going to be lucky even if they're a garbage man or something along those lines. There can be a lot of negative talk in the school because teachers are stressed. They have a lot on their plate. And sometimes some kids or some students that they have in their classroom or that they work with might not be the easiest to, handle. Just because they're not easy to handle, it doesn't mean that we have to throw them under the bus or throw them away. It's the same aspect that if something in your life is broken, do you just throw it away? Oh, my car is not acting right. Let me throw my car away and get a new car. Oh, my husband or my wife is not acting right. Let me divorce them and get a new spouse. Oh, this student is not acting right. Let me just write them off and pass them to the next grade. This happens too frequently. We need to learn that if something is broke, we need to look at, well, what can we do? Versus, it's broken. There's nothing we can do. The mindset of critical thinking has been lost. The mindset to seek education has been put on a back burner. Now it's about pleasure. Now it's about comfort. Now it is about, what do I need? We need to start to look at what the world needs, what we can bring to the world. The work that Sara does is bring more prosperity to the world. She brings light to the darkness. Many people are lost. Many people are in deep depression because of their circumstances, because maybe of their disabilities. This right here is stopping them, maybe from their strongest superpower, believing in themselves. Because if you believe you can, then there's nothing that can stop you. Now, the world might try to get in the way again and again and again. But guess what? We pivot. We make a change. We are going to always keep moving. We're not going to just have this moment in life and saying, well, I did enough. It's time to stop. This is a sign. No, if anything, it's a sign to keep on going. It's a sign to keep on pushing. It's a sign to not accept what you have been given. Let's start to go after what we can earn. Let's start to go after things that are going to help the world flourish. Because right now, the world is going to be in a tailspin, and we all have the ability to take control and to get that plane and get our life back on track for smooth sailing, for smooth flying to our destination, to our most desired self. We all have aspirations for happiness, for growth, but yet not everyone is going to take that responsibility and make it their own. And I have found when you get a coach, when you get a mentor, when you get someone that can listen to you and help guide you along the way. I don't know if you caught it, but Sara was talking about a phone call. In the interview, she was saying, well, did you make a call yesterday and the call didn't go successful? Well, let's do it together. That is the aspect of coaching. That is the aspect of helping and walking people through mentorship and guidance. This is going to help people understand that they're not in it alone. And we talked about the idea of a cell phone. The idea of that is a cell phone can make you feel connected, but it's going to disconnect you at the same time. But the brain cannot disassociate with what true connection is if you have 1 million Instagram followers, if you have all of these likes, if you have a presence on social media or on the internet. You might have found people that you can resonate with, but truly there's something inside of you that needs physical and true human connection. It's almost like if you are eating only one type of food, right? Let's say you're only going to eat eggs. Now, eggs have a tremendous amount of nutrients, good vitamins, protein, but it's not everything. Can you survive only eating eggs for a certain time? But what the body does is amazing. It's going to start to crave other things. You're going to eat these eggs. You're going to say, you know what? I'm not really satiated because I ate all of these eggs. There's something else that I desire. And it's not so much of the cookies and the cakes and the sweets. We're not talking about that. It could be the green leafy vegetables that you start to crave. It could be that you need a little bit more carbs in your life instead of the fats and the proteins. The body understands what it needs. And sometimes when you give a placebo to the brain, it thinks that it has what it needs. When you have true connection with a person, you're going to see that that is what you truly needed. A book can be that mentor. A coach, a guide can be that mentor. They can be that connection that you truly need. They can help elevate you to new heights in life. Many people are afraid of heights, but the heights that a coach or a guide or mentor or an advocate like Sara can make you see or make you realize is one that you're going to relish in later on in life. You're going to be proud that you took action so you can live life that is away from regret, that is away from the comfort that you have given yourself or that you have fallen into. We have to begin to find these gems in our life, uncover them, and then we have to give more meaning behind what we have done. Because we can do mundane things in our day, but we can also do great things in our day. They will surmount to a great life. So let's start to tack on to more great things in our life. Let's start to tack on to the potential that we can become. There are no limits. The limits that we give ourselves are going to be fake. They're going to be false. They're going to be given to us from other people or from ourselves. We need to get rid of those anchors in our life. And I believe Sara's going to be a great asset in your corner. All her links, again, are going to be in the description box below. I encourage everyone to look at what she's doing, check out her book, buy her book, and then begin to change your life for the better. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, email me coachinginsession@gmail.com, and I'll see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone take care.